Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something that's, well, everywhere in the DIY world, the Vevor Diesel Heater, the VE one. The big question is, this super budget option, is it actually worth the risk? So our mission here is pretty straightforward and quickly unpack why it's so popular, but also dig into those pretty serious safety warnings we've seen in the sources you sent over.
Yeah, it's really caught on. I mean, it's easy to see why people are snapping these up because, well, it's incredibly cheap heat, right? Great for like a garage, maybe an RV, workshops, temporary spaces. But, anything involving combustion needs a close look. And unfortunately, that closer look has turned up some pretty big problems, systemic ones.
Okay, let's start with the appeal, though, because you mentioned the price. That seems to be the main driver here. We're talking under $200 for a heater that, supposedly does the job, comes with a remote, an LCD screen, all that stuff, which honestly straight away makes me think, how? I mean, what do the sources say about how they got the cost that low?
Well, the economics are hard to argue with initially. It's not just cheap to buy. Users are reporting it's efficient too. SIPs fuel. So yeah, it's engineered fundamentally to be easy on the wallet, upfront and ongoing.
Under $200 efficient running. Yeah, that does sound almost too good to be true. So where's the catch? Where do the sources say things go wrong? What's the trade-off for that price?
And that really is the core of this whole deep dive, isn't it? You have to weigh the savings against the safety. Because this specific model, the Vevor, it's been hit with multiple safety recalls just since 2022.
Multiple recalls. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
I need to underline that. We're talking about things like, what, fire risk, carbon monoxide.
Exactly. Fire hazards and, crucially, carbon monoxide risks, yes.
Ah, okay, CO risk. That's not just like an inconvenience if it breaks down. That's potentially deadly. Is this something where, maybe users are installing it wrong? Or are we talking actual flaws, like manufacturing defects causing fires or CO leaks?
The sources point pretty strongly towards critical flaws in the manufacturing, the design, specifically around the exhaust venting. And look, this isn't just theoretical. These flaws directly led to those recalls. And it lines up with what users are seeing, too. We're hearing about frequent error codes popping up, heaters just shutting down unexpectedly, and maybe most concerning, reports of fuel vapors while it's running.
Okay, but things like error codes, shutdowns, could that just be, teething problems, which you get with a cheap device sometimes? Or the source is saying, no, this is definitely systemic.
They lean towards systemic, serious enough that governments are getting involved. If you look at the bigger picture, authorities in places like the UK, for example, they've actually taken steps like seizing these units at the border. That's how worried they are about the safety of these specific VE models.
Wow. Okay.
Now, it's really important to add some context here. Diesel heaters, as a technology, they aren't inherently dangerous. Lots of safe, reliable models out there. The risk we're highlighting today seems specific to the documented issues with this particular budget model's manufacturing. Maybe quality control and, installation guidance too. Proper installation, careful use. That's vital for any fuel-burning heater, obviously, but maybe doubly so here, given the history.
So what does this all boil down to for you, the listener? The Vevor heater, it offers this amazing price point, some decent features on paper, but when you stack that against the, documented recall history and these serious safety flags, the picture definitely changes.
Yeah, I think the sources give a pretty clear takeaway, actually. Look, if you need something super cheap right now for occasional use, maybe the Vevor seems tempting, but for heating you rely on day in, day out, where, reliability and peace of mind really matter, the analysis suggests you should probably seriously consider spending a bit more on a model with a better track record, more rigorous testing.
Right. So we've laid out that stark trade-off, haven't we? Budget versus safety. And if you do decide to go the budget route with this one, well, the need for extreme caution, meticulous installation, you just can't overstate that.
Absolutely. And maybe that leaves you with a final question to mull over. Given everything we've discussed, the recalls, the reported issues, what's the real value of peace of mind? How much is that worth when you're deciding on a heating solution? Something to think about.